Closing the Black-White Achievement Gap. Laura Rondo. This course has sparked my interest in equality of education for minority students. After disaggregating testing data for my school from the 2016-2017 school year, it was evident that there was an achievement gap between our African American and white students. As indicated on the chart, I found that our white students are outperforming our African American students over 3 times in reading and over 2 times in math. Earlier in the semester, we learned about racism and discrimination. It is evident that they exist in our current education system. For a class assignment, we analyzed school demographic data, and we could clearly see that there were inequalities between race and SES in our schools. The school population where I work is approximately 15% white and almost 60% African American. Over 90% of our students are eligible for free or reduced lunch. Reducing the achievement gap is necessary for reducing racial inequality in educational attainment and earnings. This presentation discusses why there is a racial gap in achievement tests and what research-based solutions are currently available to help reduce this gap. In the vast majority of standardized tests, average scores for African American students are significantly lower than the average score for white students. There are several factors that affect the achievement scores between Black and white students. They are opportunity gap, racial bias in testing, stereotype threat, fictive kinship, segregation in schools, unqualified teachers with low expectations, low quality instruction, and student tracking. Earlier this semester, we learned about Steele's work on stereotype threat. He found that Black Stanford undergraduates do measurably worse on tests when they are asked to record their race before taking a test, or if told that the test measures intellectual ability. Social ties or fictive kinship have an impact on academic achievement. Sometimes Black students who do well in school are criticized by their peers and are told they are acting white. This makes them feel like they have to depart from their culture to be successful in school. Oftentimes, students are tracked as early as kindergarten and first grade. Lower tracks are often disproportionately filled with Black students. Lower tracks typically train students for low-income occupations and offer fewer academic and college preparatory courses. Research has indicated that there has not been any genetic evidence indicating that Black people have less innate intellectual abilities than white people. Also, I found that gaps shrink only a little when Black and white families have the same amount of schooling, the same income, and the same wealth. However, I did find that the mother's education level is a predictor of how well students will perform on standardized tests. Now we will look at some possible solutions to closing the achievement gap between Black and white students. The Tennessee STAR study found that reducing class size increased test scores between 7 and 10 points for Black students. Small class sizes reduced the achievement gap by 35% in grades K through 3. It increased the likelihood of Black students taking the ACT or SAT from 31.8% to 41.1%. In addition, smaller class sizes lowered the teen birth rate for Black teenage males by 40%. High achievement is linked to teachers who are certified in the field they teach, are fully prepared upon entry, have higher scores on teacher licensing tests, graduate from competitive colleges, have taught 2 or more years, and also high achievement is linked to teachers who are nationally board certified. Highly qualified teachers can have a greater impact on student achievement than the effects of race and parental involvement combined. High-quality early childhood education programs have been found to reduce the probability of students being retained, being referred for special education services, dropping out of school, being unemployed, and being incarcerated. Typically, for every dollar invested in early childhood programs, there is a return between $4 and $10. Massachusetts is leading all states in student achievement on the National Assessment on Educational Progress and is successfully narrowing the racial achievement gap. Massachusetts began investing more in needier schools by equalizing funding based on the proportions of low-income and ELL students in each district. The funding resulted in new statewide learning standards, curriculum frameworks, assessments, expanded learning time in core areas, technology investments, and stronger licensing requirements for teachers. The state also increased professional development funding, increased funding for early childhood programs, and awarded hundreds of community partnerships for children and grants to expand access to early education for children in need. This shows that money and resources used wisely can impact student achievement. I have learned that legislative decisions are essential in closing the achievement gap. However, teachers do play an important role as well. Teachers need to advocate for their students. They should make classroom decisions that are in the best interest of their students and stand up for their students' rights and concerns. Two key qualities of culturally responsive teachers are having high expectations for their students and providing high-quality instruction. These features are also important components of closing the achievement gap. Teachers should stay up to date on the latest research and best practices for instruction. Teachers should use strategies that motivate and keep students engaged in their learning. It is important to keep a growth mindset and continue to learn and develop in the profession. Students need the opportunity to be critical thinkers and problem solvers. Teachers should not cut out rigorous instruction and enrichment opportunities such as art, music, science, and project-based learning to only focus on remedial strategies. Doing so will only lessen the opportunities for our students. In conclusion, I hope you have a better understanding of this topic and recognize our responsibility as professionals to address this issue. This is a list of my references used for this project if you would like more information regarding closing the achievement gap.